Hello, Maverick traders. It is April 13th, 2023, and I am back for another daily market recap. So jumping in first with some broader market analysis, equities continue their risk on sentiment, and the dollar continues to underperform. Today we saw crypto up, gold up, oil down, and stocks, of course, higher. So let's get right into it. All right, so kicking off with the S&P 500, we've broken out of this high base that we've been putting in for the last several days. So we've traded sideways broadly, and we've now broken out, and we're now heading to the high 4100s. 4200 would be the absolute upper bound of this resistance range. So I do see some more upside in equities over the next few days, let's say, at which point I'll be looking for some kind of top. I believe it'll be a tradable top. I'm not sure that it's going to be an entire reversal of this bullish move higher, but it should at least be a tradable top for short-term folks out there. Looking at the total world stock index VT, it's a very similar story. We're heading to test the prior highs from earlier in the year, so a little bit more upside, at which point I'll be looking for a potential kind of double top situation here in VT. Moving over to cryptos, this is a weekly chart. I've drawn this shaded gray area, which I believe should prove to be stiff resistance. It does certainly look like cryptos, bottomed out and surging higher, but I am still skeptical of this, that we're going to just slice through this upper resistance area coming in. The upper bound of this band would be 35,000 in this crypto basket. I still have my doubts that we're just going to slice right through it. So I am also looking for a local top here in crypto and in stocks too. I think it's all kind of coming together nicely with these risk markets. They're probably all going to top right around the same time. I'm going to give the market, plus 2 3/4, let's say, if based on tomorrow's open, we could see these moving averages cross higher. So pretty bold up here in the markets. Now, of course, we had some weaker inflationary data come out today and the day before as well. So we had CCI and then the producer price index results come in a little bit soft as well. So that's definitely something that the market's been keeping an eye on. The market's obviously desperate that inflationary data comes in soft, so it's going to encourage a Fed pivot, right? So basically, everyone's eager to announce that inflation is dead and gone, but the reality is that we're still far away from the Fed's 2% target. In news tomorrow, we're going to see core retail sales come out in the U.S. That's at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. All right, moving on to daily performance in the currency markets. Crypto all up. Bitcoin up, Bitcoin Cash up, Ethereum had a great day, up almost 5%, and Litecoin up almost 2.5%. Over on the fiat side, no surprise here with the big day in stocks. The Aussie and the Kiwi risk on currencies did very well. The Canadian dollar was mostly flat. And then the yen, the US dollar were the two biggest losers, with the pound not too far behind and the euro not too far behind as well. And the Swiss franc was mostly flat. Okay, so we're now just going to jump right into some possible trades, because there is a lot of exciting stuff that I want to discuss here in these various currency baskets. So number one, with the yen, I've been calling for this push lower in the yen, and we are indeed getting that push lower. I still think there is runway to be short yen here until, at the very least, until we come into these lows from the end of February. Okay, so I think there's still more runway to be short yen. It's a pretty easy trade, and it has proven to be a pretty easy trade. Okay, US dollar is what's interesting. So I said previously we were trading inside of this wedge, and we broke out of that wedge, which could lead to the US dollar going higher. It did not. We traded higher for a day, basically, and then we topped out and reversed. So when a signal to go long the market fails, that is often a very reliable indicator to go short the market. So some of the best sell setups are failed buy setups, and vice versa. Some of the best buy setups are failed sell setups. So I think I definitely see the dollar going lower. I think we're going to test the lows from February. So being short the yen, being short the dollar, I think those are two pretty good trades to keep in mind. The question is, what do you pair them against? So we have the Swiss franc here. I'm not too keen on the Swiss franc. You can see we've tested this previous top from Monday, March 13th, and we have bearish divergence here in the relative strength index as well. Those two signs together tell me to avoid the Swiss franc. I don't necessarily want to be shorting the Swiss franc here, but I'm sure as heck not comfortable being long either. And you know, the Swiss franc's cousin, the euro, no surprise there that I would be having similar sentiments. So we've brushed up against this resistance level that I called out last week, going back to May 2021. I think the euro could also be primed for a bit of a pullback here. So still like the yen and the US dollar weaker, but not sure about pairing up those two liability currencies against either the euro or the Swiss franc. I still like the Great British Pound. I think we're still thrusting out of this triangle from which we broke out back earlier in March, you know, right around middle of March, March 14th, March 15th, around that time. So I still see the pound higher. I really like buying the pound here relative to both the dollar and the yen, provided that the right chart setups are present. Okay, Canadian dollar. Pretty neutral on the Canadian dollar. We're still trading sideways in this broader range until we get a breakout one side or the other. You know, I just don't have too much to say about the loonie. However, if you're a range trader, you'd be looking to go short as the Canadian dollar approaches the upper band of this range and going long as we approach the lower band of that range. I'm more of a trend trader, so I'm waiting to see which side of this range we break out of. Now that leads us to the Australian dollar. So we reacted sharply to this support level that I called out. You know, it's an important low from January 2022. I kind of like the upside here in the Australian dollar. The RSI has this nice bullish curve to it, very aggressive bullish momentum signature there. The only thing I'm wary about with the Aussie dollar is this large trend line. So I do think we have scope here to trade higher to test this trend line, but for me to be longer term bullish the Aussie, we need to see a breakout above that trend line and then stay above it. So I don't mind taking a few stabs at the Aussie dollar here and there, but I'm going to get really bulled up on the Aussie if we can break out through this trend line. And then we have the Kiwi dollar next. I told you guys the Kiwi dollar is trading within this falling wedge. Falling wedges are typically reversal patterns. We haven't yet gotten a strong breakout out of the resistance line of this wedge, but geez, if today's performance is anything to go by, it's possible that the Kiwi dollar has bottomed and we are going to get that breakout higher. So I really like looking at the Kiwi dollar, potentially the Aussie dollar, and then the pound. And I like being on the long side of those currencies and then being short the US dollar and the Japanese yen against them. Now, that doesn't mean that the yen and the dollar are just going to sink in a straight line. I think the yen actually, you know, will, and the dollar might as well in the short term, but over the intermediate and long term, no, they're not going to sink in you know, they're just not going to go straight down. We're going to see some volatility along the way, right? So the dollar and the yen will both be staging counter trend rallies as well. But yeah, those are the currencies in play in my opinion, and that's what I'm going to be looking for from a trading perspective. Okay, so in conclusion, equities are likely to remain bullish for at least the short term. The volatility is still relatively low. Like today was a really good trading day to be short the dollar. I think we saw that, you know, transpire yesterday as well. So trade less, focus on those currencies in play, and as always, maintain proper position sizing. So that's it from me, folks. Tomorrow we've got those retail sales coming in at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time, but you know, other than that, it's going to be a fairly quiet news day. So thanks for watching, traders, and I'll see you next week. Take care, everybody. Bye for now.